Preparation. This is the action or process of preparing. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to episode 4 of the Leading Self series. Now, in this 4-part series, we have covered 3 series so far, the recordings of which are available on our YouTube channel, LMC Consultancy. So, the 4 that we are covering, of which we've already covered 3, number 1 is words that inspire. And in that particular episode, we talked about action verbs. Now, these action verbs are the ones that, when properly applied, they help us to be inspired and get us out of this rut that we sometimes find ourselves in. You will agree with me that when you start a goal, there's all this motivation, there's all this excitement, there's all this drive for the goal. But it gets to a point when life happens, it gets to a point where reality begins to check in, and then you get into a rut. It could be many other reasons, but one of them is that life happens. So what happens when you get to that point? Do you give up? I hope it is a resounding no. You do not give up. What you do is use action verbs that inspire you. You want to be able to jump onto our recording to see what kind of action verbs, are available to you, and what words you would add to that list. It's so amazing, this learning journey that we can take together as we learn from one another. That was episode 1. Episode 2 was about steps to get more out of your day. We agreed that the clock has 24 hours. We all have the same share of the 24 hours, but it's a matter of making most of the time that we have. And I shared the fact that I am a recovering procrastinator. Now, perhaps what I did not share in exhaustiveness is the fact that this is as a result of my perfectionist nature. Because I am a perfectionist, the voice in my head tells me that I need to have all my ducks in a row, that I need to dot my I's and cross my T's before I submit. And though it is a very good character to have because it gets me ready, I show up when I'm needed, and I have everything ready. I got the assignment right. If you know, you know. What happens with that is that I end up delaying and not optimizing on my 24 hours. So it could have been on my to-do list, but then it gets extended to tomorrow and the day after and then next week. And this is easily something that you can relate to. So maybe you are a perfectionist like me and you're wondering how best to optimize your day. You want to jump onto my YouTube channel and have a look at episode 2 and share with me exactly what your take-homes are and what you would add. Number 3 was thriving as a leader. Now, in this episode, we were very specific to cover that a leader concentrates on actions. It needs to be about action, not folding up your sleeves or rolling up your sleeves as you may, as opposed to just showing up for appearance's sake. Now, many a times when you're asked, when you see a group of people, you are asked who is the leader, and you say it's the person at the front, because it is a safe assumption that the leader will lead from the front. Yes, I couldn't agree more. But what I want to be able to give you as a different perception is that a leader is more about actions than appearances. There may be a leader in front of the pack, but this leader is not leading you guys. You're just a group of people there. You're not a team. This leader is not taking you in the direction that you want to be. Think of a football club and how leaders are in the football club. What it is that they do. They don't sit back and watch the members of the club work. They dig in there and they actually get dirty and sweaty. They get all the scraps and the hurt and the scars for the game. They show up on social media. They get to do things that leaders are supposed to be doing. It's not only about appearances. Well, those were the 3 episodes. Now, today's episode, which is the final episode for this particular series, which is called Leading Self Series, is all about checklists. Now, I'm the queen of checklists. You want to look around my desk right now. I've got checklist after checklist after checklist. I've got Post-its. I live by checklists. And you know what? Checklists need to be done in advance So if you're setting up goals, have your checklist in advance so that you can go and just tick off. So whether you're doing it last night, whether you're doing it last month, whether you're doing it last year, or in the last 5 years, don't do it today, for today. Prepare yourself. Have a checklist. Just like when you're going on vacation, you have a checklist of different things, whether you want to be able to encourage the team that you're with to have culinary experiences. Yes, I'm in the hospitality industry, so of course that's the example that I would give. The different places that you want to visit, how you want to go, what clothes you want to wear, all these are a checklist. Checklists are important, and this is what I do so well. I am the queen of checklists. So goals must be set in advance. I cannot say that enough times, because as you do this, it determines your direction. It gives you the motivation to move forward. So in case you forget it or you get distracted, go back to your checklist. It tells you what you need to do, what you needed to have done to get to the next stage. So whatever career that you are in, you need a checklist. I have recently joined the Voice Actors League of Kenya, and in the morning, part of my checklist is working my voice, warming up my voice, drinking warm water, and doing my jaw exercises so I can enunciate even better. This is what I do. It's a checklist. So every morning I know I need to do this. It doesn't matter what kind of industry you're in. Create a checklist for yourself so that you can show up. Now, this has served me so well in all the different spheres of my life. And because of this, I stay focused. I can already tell you what I've succeeded in and areas where I have garnered lessons. Now, when you consider setting goals, you're much like a captain of a ship. So for the entirety of our session today, we are going to use this analogy, and I hope that by using it, it'll bring the message home. So back to the captain of a ship. I mean, you just need to be able to stand where the captain stands and see what they see. Wow, that's a pun. Huh? See what they see. They actually see the sea. Okay, so jokes aside, you have the vast area of the sea of your life before you. So be like the captain of the ship. So as you're looking at this, I want you to consider this ship that you're standing in, this ship that is surrounding you, as a ship of abilities, of capabilities, of character, of personality, of potential and desires and dreams that amount to you. You are the ship. So this ship that you are is sitting here on the ocean, and you're the captain. Because you are the captain of your life. You're the one who knows where this is going to go to. And then you ask me, Lucy, so what has that got to do with checklists? Well, where are you going? You need to know why you're going there and how you're going there. So it is your purpose. It is your vision. It is your mission. It is your calling. It is your goal. Whatever it is that you've set your eye on, you are the captain of your ship. You are the one who embodies all these things. And now it's time to start moving. So as you consider a navigational chart, now that's the language of a captain, eh? So as you consider a navigational chart, any captain is going to tell you that there are many routes to the destination or to any destination. And during my training and my coaching sessions, I like to use 3 specific destinations for no reason. It's just that I am in Kenya and I like to use these examples. So you could either be going to Thika, you could either be going to Naivasha, or you could be going to Mombasa. These are destinations. And you do know that there are many different routes to that destination. It's not only one. You can choose from a bouquet of routes of how you want to go to these different destinations. So it is your prerogative as the captain of your life to choose which route you are going to travel. So once you choose the route you're going to travel, then you plot the course. I'm a captain again. You plot the course. Now, once you plot the course, you end up moving from port to port. And I want you to imagine that the port to port is actually your action plans. So from one action to another action to another action as you move closer to your goal. So of course you are concentrating on this goal-oriented section or goal section that you're going for, action area that you're going for. It's important because you need to stay focused. The one thing that you need to be able to do is put one foot in front of the other. so that you can continue until your voyage is complete, or your trip is over, or you have achieved your goal. And guess what? When you get there, you can do it all over again because you've done it. This is the motivation that many of us are missing. The success of reaching the goal does not necessarily mean that you achieved what you were setting out to do. You have completed the journey, and there have been successes and there have been learnings. This is the beauty of the journey. The captain is going to take you to that city, and you will have traveled in that ship that is made up of your capabilities, your abilities, your personality, whatever, your character. But there's one thing that I encourage you to include, and that is the thinking or consideration or the listing of obstacles. That's what it is. The listing, I beg your pardon, the listing of obstacles. List them down. Sounds scary, doesn't it? I mean, we're deciding we're going, we've already chosen our chart and we've plotted our course, and now I'm asking you to put down your obstacles. Well, think about it. If you're in a business, you're thinking about what could go wrong, not because you're calling it upon your business. It is just so that you can be prepared. And remember, in the beginning, I was giving you the definition of preparation as the action or process of preparing. So you're preparing in the event that something goes wrong. So in your business, you're taking a lot of risk by running a business. But if you already list down the risks of the business, you have a mitigation risk, or you have a list of actions that you would take in case things went wrong. It's a part of life. Life is not perfect. If anything, the minute you set out to do something, I can guarantee you that Murphy is in the room, and that is Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law will take effect and come in and try its best to break down your plans. And for me, it's the inner voices. It's the inner voices that come in and try and break me down when I set out to do something. So I put down my obstacles, and one of my obstacles is the voice in me and how I can manage it from just, bringing it down to that much. Because at times it's very loud in my head. I'm not alone, and I'm sure you can all relate with me. So just as the captain charts a course to a planned destination, you also determine the direction of your life by the goals that you choose. So we are still being a captain. And I'm just going to walk you through 5 points that are checklists that have really served me well over time, and just kept me focused. And I hope this helps you as we come to the end of the Leading Self series. So number 1, goals should be set in advance. It's not about winging it, guys. It's about understanding your why, knowing your how. So when you're understanding your why, you know what your purpose is, what your goal is, what your mission is. You know where you are, which is exactly where you are today. And you know your desired place that you want to be. We all have a desire to be something else or somewhere else. We want to grow. We are human beings. We do not remain stagnant. For us, change is inevitable and constant, and we grow and we live and we learn, and such is the beauty of life. So we want to be in a certain place in our life. So it's the how. How do we get there? But as we're getting there, like I said, you need to plot the obstacles. So put down your goals in advance and make sure that they are very clear, because there's no substitute for planning. That practice of planning your work and then working your plan. This is a proven theorem of action. Have you met those people who don't have a plan? And when you have a plan, they piggyback on your plan. Well, those people, they don't have a plan. They actually do not have a plan. And you might think that, it's good for the ride, the more the merrier. There is a statistic that shows that only 8% of people achieve their goals. And specifically, it's to New Year's resolutions. And this is the time. And it is because 3% of people, that means out of 10, only 3 people actually write down their goals. So where are you? Are you in the 3 out of 10 people who have written down your goals, which are specific, and you've written them in advance, you're not winging it? Or are you part of the 7 out of 10 who are waiting for somebody else's game plan and then just hopping onto it? I gave you the example of vacations. You know, many people spend more time on putting down goals and plans for vacations than putting down goals and plans for their lives. It is this one aspect in their life that they plan for, and not for their life in its entirety, so that they can be moving forward all the time and having a discussion that makes sense to them when it comes to answering their why and their how. So know your target, know your vision, know your calling, whatever it is, and then plan each stage of the journey. Remember, with the captain, we are still on the ship. It was port to port to port. And you know, the reward of getting to that port and taking 5 to just look around and see that you are all together and you're ready to keep on moving, that reward will be continual progress. It builds you, it gets you motivated. You don't get into a rut, and if you do, you know which buttons to hit to get out of it. The satisfaction of achievement, I mean, I could even just sit back. No matter how small your success is, it is something that you need to be aware of. So if you've achieved an action plan today, tick and give yourself the marks that you deserve. So keep on moving forward. I cannot say that enough times. Think about a farmer who is planting seed. So if they are plowing so they can be throwing the seed in, they don't look back. Because if they look back, their route is going to change. You know, because they don't have eyes at the back of their head to see that the plow is going straight. They want to keep one foot in front of another. The one that totally scares me is the high wire performers. I mean, I can never imagine that myself being up there, but some of you may be a high wire performers, literally, in the literal sense. So I'm imagining as you're walking on that wire, do you look behind? If you do, you topple your balance. So as you're holding is it a rod or whatever it is that is held, you are moving forward. You've got your eyes on the target and you've got one foot in front of the other. So as a captain of your ship, this is what you need to do. Know your why, know your how, and just keep your eyes focused, but get those goals in advance. Number 2 is time scales need to be covered. Time scales, time scales, time scales. See, the captain has predetermined the scheduled times of arriving at each port. Now think about it. When you board a train, or you board a bus, or you board an aircraft, or you board a ship like the one the captain is on, you are informed of the duration of the journey. And you were told how long it will take and what time you'll arrive where you're going. And when you're about to arrive, it's going to be announced. You know, we are about to, if it is tighten your seatbelts or whatever it is, get your belongings together. It's a predetermined scheduled time at each port. So remember, the ports are your actions, a port of call. So make sure with your actions, they're time bound. Attach time scales. Now in planning your goals and you're scheduling this timeline, be aware of it, that you only have 24 hours in a day. Don't overexert yourself where now you feel overwhelmed and then this time scale is not working. Remember to keep moving. Now, I'm in the hospitality industry and we've got seasons in the hospitality industry, and there is the low season. So you've got to plan also for the low seasons or the down times in your life. Now, during our low season, we plan to do other types of activities, or we target other kinds of markets, whether they're emerging markets or existing markets, but we work within it. So this is what you need to do for your planning also, your day. There's going to be downtime. Now, if you do not have a plan for it and you've not put some time scales to it, what's going to happen is you're going to feel demotivated because there's no activity happening. So time scales need to be covered. And if you use your time wisely and assure proper time allocation to reach each goal section or action section leg of the journey, voila, there is success in completion. And that allows you now to pull out of that port and drive or journey or walk to the next port. That means moving to the next action. So it is important for you to look at your time scales. Number 3, flexible. Be flexible. Now I'll tell you one thing. This word never sat down well with me, never sat right with me. Flexibility for me over time always meant laziness. It meant casualness. It meant you were not taking something seriously. Until I met a coach, and the coach was able to walk me through this limiting belief of mine, this inner voice of mine that told me that someone was being lazy. That was me. When I just veered off the game plan a little bit. Well, I've come to see the strength of flexibility. The strength, I beg your pardon, in the wisdom that I need to be aware of the things I can control and the things I cannot control. And therein lies the magic of flexibility. So whether we are sailing the ocean and we've got the whole sea ahead of us and we know how we are going, or we are going through life, we're not always in control of the environment. Think about the captain in this ship out in the open seas with a plotted course, unforeseen winds. Remember I talked about the obstacles, currents, the water currents, the turbulence that is caused as a result. This actually affects your progress. Now, because your schedule has been temporarily thwarted by these obstacles, doesn't mean it's time to give up. It just means it's time to stop and recalibrate. Look at your situation and see how flexible you can be. What things need to be adjusted here and there. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Let this be now your new ground zero. As you create, remember, going to Mombasa, going to Thika, going to Naivasha, approach a different route. Because maybe ahead there's a roadblock, there's roadworks going on. There's the flood and the road has been washed away. It doesn't mean you give up going on to where you were going, which is your goal, your vision, your mission, your calling. I hope that helps you. So if you cannot continue the journey on this particular route, remember we are still going to that goal. You look for alternative route. The scenic route perhaps, not the direct route that you were taking. So flexible goals will always enable you to keep moving forward. So keep your eye on the goal. This is being flexible. Be concrete and measurable. This is very important. I encourage you to have metrics in your life. Think about the captain who tells you that we are going to be landing somewhere, maybe an aircraft, or calling into a port of call at a certain time. But then because of the elements, certain things have shifted. And I'm reminded of flying, that perhaps you were told that this flight will take 50 minutes. But then when you start going into the descent mode and the captain is announcing, the pilot is announcing this, they tell you that because the winds have favored them, we are now landing 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Why? Because there was a timetable. And this particular timetable, the captain, the pilot, whoever is in charge of this vessel has set it. And that's you. Do you have a timeline for your action plans? This is a goal checklist. It's something you must have. Things should not be open-ended. Have timelines in chunk sizes. Be able to take your successes and your learning so that you're motivated to move forward. It is important for you because you should actually be able to plan the methods of accomplishment in detail. And this is inclusive of time. In detail, inclusive of whatever resources or support that you need. Think about climbing Mount Kenya. There we go again, the Kenyan in me. Climbing Mount Kenya. There's certain things you have to do before, during, and after. Now, I've never climbed Mount Kenya, but I have met people who have. And it is vigorous, but it is very specific. And there are metrics that they look forward to and they tick off. And one of them is acclimatization. So being able to visit places with different altitudes so that your capacity of your chest, of your breathing, your respiratory tract begins to get used to these altitudes, the change of altitudes. Because with this shift, it can be really hazardous on your life. When you're preparing, this is your goals checklist. You want to summit the mountain. So there are certain things that you have to do. I think of a cake. When I am baking a cake, I love to bake cakes. There's a certain way certain cakes are baked to have a certain outcome. So if you want it to be a sponge cake, There's certain ingredients and certain measurements, metrics again, that you will put in. If you want it to be a firm cake, if you want it to go into a mousse, whatever it is, the heat, the ingredients, the consistency, all this matters to the metric. Now, once you're used to this, you can interchange. But then if you want a specific outcome, which is now your goal, your vision, your calling, you need to have a goals checklist that you are able to go back and say, these are the metrics that are needed for me to move forward. So what are your metrics? Have you figured those out? You have to be able to have them concrete and measurable. And last but not least, relevant and attainable. You know, every time I think about this, I remember the people who like to piggyback on other people's plans. Remember, the 7 out of 10 people who do not have a game plan. I hope you're not one of them. That when somebody has a game plan, they piggyback onto that game plan. And as they piggyback onto the game plan, what happens later on in life, as life progresses? They are the makers of the kings and the queens of people who accomplish their goals because they wrote them down. The 3% of people who write down the goals, who go on to be the 8% of people, another metric, who actually achieve on delivering on their goals. And you know what? You become bitter. You begin to ask yourself, how come so-and-so makes it in life and I don't? Well, you're not prepared. Remember what the definition of preparation is. Are you prepared? Are you ready to write down your goals? And I encourage you at this moment to start jotting down a goal and make yourself stand up and be counted as part of the 3%. Don't let this just go by without it being a lesson for you and a tool for you to use. Let this knowledge be something that you can apply. So it's time to wake up from your dream. The 7 out of 10 are still dreaming. It's a beautiful place to be. I love dreaming. But I am part of the 3%. And that means I woke up and I wrote down my goals. And I continue and update my goals. And I make sure the goals are relevant to me. I'm not living somebody else's life. And therefore I am happy and I own my successes and my failures, which I refer to as lessons. So remember, whether the path you have chosen to final goals, to your goal, to your mission, is that of the high wire performer. Remember, very scary. I don't know if I'll ever find myself in that situation. Or if you're the farmer who is sowing your seed, whichever area it is, you need to keep your feet just moving forward, I beg your pardon, towards your mission. Don't take your eyes off it so that you can be able to say, this is how I did it. You become a mentor. You're able to help the people who are behind you, the coming up generation, to show them how things are done because you have done it with success and you can speak to it. So in the daily affairs of your life and you're moving through life, I am encouraging you to concentrate on the do's. Build your muscle on the possibilities because there are lots of possibilities. You know the naysayers? You know that negative voice in your head? That will always come without you even asking. Those are the don'ts. So where you need growth is in claiming and reinforcing your do's. Because when you build on that muscle after 21 days, it becomes second nature and then you apply it to your next goal. I can tell you it works. Does that mean that it's a perfect life? No. It means that every time you come across trials and tribulations, you apply this. And you have a better chance of succeeding than the other person who has been concentrating on the don'ts in their life, of the fact that they can't do this. The people who have given that voice in their mind, they've given it territorial permission, control. That voice will always be there. You're the one who needs to control it. So you can allow it either to take over your life or you can bring it really down, so that it can give you that opportunity to know that you need to be prepared. So remember, you need to think about the do's. So we've come to the end of our session today. Thank you so much for being with me. Here's the goals checklist takeaway. As usual, number 1, know your why and be clear on your how. Do you need help? just direct message me and we can have a session already booked. I will send you my calendar invite and we can discuss about your why. We can identify what it is and be able to figure out your hows. And your hows can be very many. Hey, cater for obstacles is number 2. Cater for obstacles. Obstacles will happen, guys. There's no perfect life. You will decide you're going somewhere and something will happen. On your journey, you will have a flat tire. Are you ready to deal with that? You will realize there's no petrol stations on the way that you're traveling. Are you ready to deal with that? You might decide that the elements, it may rain, a healthy storm. Are you ready to deal with that? Plot your obstacles so that you can be prepared. Do not be superstitious and say, if I think of the obstacles, they will come following me. Be prepared, guys. Number 3 is grow your do's muscle. Believe in yourself that you can do it. Even if you're not able to garner success, you will get lessons. And the minute you are uncomfortable, growth is happening, guys. Well, those are the 3 takeaways. And this episode is going to be up on my YouTube channel, LMC Consultancy, by this evening. And you already know what I'm going to say. When you're there, hit the subscription button, share, so that people can get to benefit from what you're benefiting from. Hit the notification button so that you can get notification of any of these new episodes that are being uploaded. Now, some alert for you. The personal planning February cohort is fully booked. Thank you so much to those of you who responded and are already booked and scheduled for the February cohort. I must say that not all is lost. We have the March one coming up and I'm sure you don't want to be left behind. So you need to follow me, continue following me on IG, continue following me on TikTok, on Facebook, and on my website, lmcconsultancy.com, to get more information about March. We've just concluded the January cohort and it was amazing. So much energy and learnings. So look out for the March dates and let us help build one another. Until then, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.